right now.
911.
Hey, this is Gardens Alpha 1. I just got one down. I just shot one person. I'm at that off-ramp right behind Doubletree. Black male.
You're behind the Doubletree?
I'm on the off-ramp, 95 southbound off-ramp, off the Doubletree. I am not covered in anything right now.
In October 2015, a young drummer named Corey Jones broke down on the side of the highway. He was waiting for a tow truck. He never made it home. What happened next would become one of the most significant police accountability cases in Florida history. The officer who killed him, Nouman Raja, became the first Florida cop convicted for an on-duty shooting in 30 years. And the reason we know what actually happened that night? Corey was on the phone with roadside assistance. The call kept recording. Today we're going through the evidence together, the audio, the investigation, the moment a jury heard the truth. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. This one matters.
Huh? I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The following footage was provided to us by Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office.
Officer Raja, are you aware this is a voluntary procedure and that you may decline to continue at any time?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you feel as though you are emotionally prepared to provide an accurate reenactment?
I believe so.
Okay. Do you have any questions about the reenactment procedure before we begin?
No.
Okay. Everything good?
Yes, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to provide will be the truth, the entire truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay. What I want you to do is I want you to go into as great as detail as you can.
Okay.
Why you were here, how you came about this. But first, I just have a few preliminary questions. Sure. You currently work for the Palm Beach Gardens Police Department?
Yes, sir. I do.
How long have you worked for them?
Since April of 2015.
April of 2015?
Yes, sir.
Any previous law enforcement before that?
Yes, sir. I was a sergeant with the Atlantis Police Department. And I started in Atlantis, I think, 2007. And I came, just wanted more. Once I topped out there, I wanted more.
Okay. What are your current duty assignments here with Palm Beach Gardens?
Currently assigned to road patrol on the midnight shift, late night, 7:30 p.m., 19:30 to 06:30.
Okay. Was that your shift last
voice up? I can't. Okay, sorry.
Was that your shift that you were working last night?
Yes,
also?
Last night was my Friday. We worked 4-day on, 4-day off schedule. Last night was my last day on.
Okay. What do you normally wear in your duties?
On a normal days, we were full uniform with the badge and the name tag. For the last, since September 30th or so, we've had a lot of vehicle burglaries in our area and everything, and we were getting hit with them a lot. So starting last week, we started with this. We were setting up decoy cars, and at midnight, I'm Alpha 1 cover shift. So basically I have Beat 1, which is far out west, and there's not really that much happens. So they also use me as a cover unit. At midnight, I would go set up the decoy cars and everything like that. I would dress down in street clothes, and I've been doing this for the last 4 nights. And I would either take this van, or we have a gold Crown Victoria unmarked, and I would take that and basically drive around residential neighborhoods and everything, blacked out, windows down, seeing if we see any burglaries occurring.
Okay. Did you have anything on you this evening after you dressed down, showing that you're a police officer?
Yes.
Did you have a badge or anything with you?
Inside, first of all, I always have my wallet badge with me, with a police ID, which is per policy. And on top of that, inside my van, I had my tactical vest with had police in the front, police on the back, my name actually stitched onto the vest, Officer Raja, and I had my duty holster with me inside the thing.
So this is Raja walking investigators through his version of events. And right away, I need you to notice something. He's been a cop since 2007, nearly a decade of law enforcement experience, sergeant at Atlantis PD before Palm Beach Gardens. This is not a rookie who panicked. He tells them he had his badge in his wallet. His tactical vest with police on it was in the van. In the van, not on his body, not visible. He's driving an unmarked vehicle in street clothes at night, and the thing that would identify him as law enforcement is sitting inside the vehicle. He also mentions he's been doing these plainclothes burglary stakeouts for 4 nights. 4 nights of approaching people in the dark with no uniform and no visible identification. And nobody thought to ask what happens when a legally armed citizen doesn't realize you're a cop? We're about to find out.
We're told that nightclub right down the road on PJRC is called Lux, and across the road is downtown at the Gardens, Dirty Martini.
Lux?
Lux, L-U-X. They were having a hip hop concert tonight, and there was supposed to be a huge crowd gathering tonight. So we decided to, if you open the back of the van up, you'll see 8 riot shields, this, that gear, the loudspeaker, crime scene tape, and sticks, And our thing was this: hey, if anything happens, if there's a big incident at Lux, if there's a big fight, we need to clear the crowd, we're going to forget about the 21 and report with the van immediately to Lux, so officers have quick access to it. And and number 2 thing that was discussed was this: while I'm in street clothes, while I'm in this, I do not do any takedowns, I do not do anything, but just in case of an emergency, something happens, that's why I have the vest and everything identifying on me. I'm supposed to call a road unit to come out to handle any situations.
Okay, just to go back kind of quick, for other people that aren't police officers.
Yes, I'm sorry.
If you would, just in the future, stop using the signal codes and stuff, because somebody may not understand it. So you use 94, which we know is backup, and 21, which is burglaries.
Yes.
So if you can just use plain talk.
Okay, no problem.
For the future, just in case, because some of the non-police officers may not understand what you were talking about at that point. You satisfied with that? You want to go into the reenactment? Or?
You said you're supposed to call the backup during situations. What situations are you supposed to call backup?
Like, for example, if I'm in one of the residential neighborhoods and I see a burglary occurring or something like that, or a suspicious vehicle or suspicious person, to call a mark unit, give them my position where I'm at, and tell them, hey, this is where this person is through. And then once the mark unit comes out there, makes the initial stop, comes in contact, throw my vest on if I need to and everything like that, and then go ahead and make contact with them.
And here's where it gets infuriating. He literally tells them the protocol, out loud, on camera. If he sees something suspicious, he's supposed to call a marked unit, let the uniformed officers make contact. His job is to observe and report, not engage. He even says it himself. While I'm in street clothes, I do not do any takedowns. That's the rule. That's what he was trained to do. And yet Corey Jones is dead because Raja didn't follow his own instructions. This wasn't ambiguity. This wasn't a split-second judgment call in a chaotic situation. He knew the procedure. He described it perfectly. And then, when it actually mattered, when a stranded motorist was sitting in a broken-down car at 3 in the morning, he did the opposite. The defense will later argue he feared for his life. But fear doesn't explain why he got out of that van in the first place.
Okay, now what I'd like you to do is go into what happened this evening. Start as far back as you have to. Okay. Try to go into as much detail as you can. Okay. If you need to stop, stop. If you need a break, tell us, let us know. Okay, and then try to be as elaborate as you can with what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, tonight I couldn't really start this operation, if you want to call it, till midnight, because I was actually a backup officer on a domestic call in Evergreen. And second I cleared the domestic call as the backup officer, I went to the station, changed out and everything through, and got into the van, had the van prepped and everything like that. And I sent Sergeant Anderson a message, because one of the things was we were assuming that these people that were doing a lot of the burglaries are coming from Jupiter area, from the Heights. And we've checked, and we've seen a couple of these suspicious people that we've, checked out with before and everything like that, walking south on Military, walking south on Central. So I started my day I started on PGA, I went down Military, all the way down to Hood Road, went into Donald Ross Village, drove around there, and then came down Central, down PGA. And then I came back here, went to the gas station, got myself a drink and some snacks, which are still inside the van. And I started to do the communities. And as I was doing this, I was sending messages to Sergeant Anderson on the laptop. Hey, I'm going to this community, this is what I just did, this is what I just did. So he's aware of the whole, the chain of command's going. So he's aware of my location at all times. I did the first community was the Isles. I did the Isles, and I was about to go into Evergreen. And I was just about to go there and everything. And I remember that one of the 2 units responded to a domestic disturbance at the Marriott. And the Lux Club is located on the 1st floor of the Marriott. They responded to, like, on the 5th floor or something like that, to a domestic disturbance that was pretty heated. And so, Sergeant Anderson went there too. And as Sergeant Anderson was there, I remember him calling on the radio, hey, we have a disturbance going on downstairs in Lux in the nightclub, have officers respond. So kept on hearing that different officers. I had the radio on, like, officers, I'm on the way, I'm on the way. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, this might be that call that, you know, it just might break loose. So let me take the van, get out of where I was at, and start heading down in this direction to be close to it, just in case if, you know, something broke, I have the riot gear, everything like that we discussed about. So I turned on from military to PGA, and I was going eastbound on PGA. And as I was coming here and everything, I saw this vehicle stopped here, didn't see anybody inside, nothing. And I called out, I believe, on the radio. And I said that I thought it was a disabled vehicle on the side of the road or an abandoned vehicle. So I saw this vehicle and everything. And I was like, okay, I've got this vehicle on the side of the road, and, you know, I'm gonna check out with it, make sure everything's okay. And, you know, when I drove past it, I could not see anything, any occupants inside the vehicle. Or if
you drove past it, which way?
Eastbound.
Okay.
Eastbound. So I went down to the next light right there. I made a U-turn, came in here. And as I was coming, I was like, you know, it's like, all right, it's just an abandoned vehicle. This is the on-ramp. I'm just gonna pull in front of it like this and park in front and put my flashes on, dispatch the TAC to see if I can see the owner. Maybe they walk to the gas station or have it towed, do what we need to do. But, you know, it's like, and this is where I'm kind of like kicking my, it's like, you know, it's like thinking about hindsight. It's like our, you know, golden rule. It's like, you know, always act like a vehicle's always occupied. Never take that chance of, like, you know, this vehicle not being unoccupied. If I knew the vehicle was occupied, I would never put myself in a fatal funnel situation like this by pulling in front of it.
Notice how he frames this. He's not checking on a stranded motorist. He's running a burglary operation. In his mind, he's hunting suspects from Jupiter and the Heights, people he describes as suspicious before he's even seen them do anything wrong. That framing matters because it tells you exactly what lens Raja was looking through when he pulled up on Corey Jones. He wasn't approaching a citizen who might need help. He was approaching a potential target. And then there's that line at the end. If I knew the vehicle was occupied, I would never put myself in a fatal funnel situation. He's already building his defense, already positioning himself as the victim of his own tactical error, rather than the man who created the danger in the first place. Corey Jones was a church drummer waiting for a tow truck. Raja saw a threat because that's what he went out looking for.
I didn't think there was anybody in there. And as I got close to the vehicle, and the door swung open, and this guy jumps up, and I immediately got out of the van, and he's like, I'm okay, man. And at which point I said, hey man, police, can I help you? And the second I said police, he jumped back, and I clearly remember him drawing and pointing a gun at me. I saw that silver muzzle, and he had, I can swear on this, he had a Laser Max laser in the guide rod in the gun, and I saw that red light of that Laser Max flashing at me, and I immediately just shouted, drop the gun, and sorry.
Let's do this. Like, take a deep breath. Let's do this. Okay. Do you need a drink?
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Listen, I want you to take your time. I want you to be open. Listen, why don't we?
You want to walk
go over here?
Can you go over here and show us where you were when this happened?
Absolutely. And
when you got out of the van, which way did you go?
Right here. I came right here.
Hold on one second.
Yep.
Come back here.
Yes, sir.
Come back
yes,
here.
Sir.
Now, when you got out of the van, which way did you go?
In front. This is just like how it is. You know,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I immediately jumped out and I came right here. And at that point, I didn't have what I had on me. The only thing I had on me, because I was in plain, like my gun was still inside, my duty gun, my vest was inside, and the only thing I had was my backup gun, my department approved backup gun, in waistband holster inside with a shirt tucked in like this. And I immediately said, hey man, police, can I help you? And at which point, that's when he jumped back and I saw him draw the gun right at me, right after I said the word police, and it was just, I kind of got like caught with my pants down at that point. And it just immediately, it's like positive. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you know, your family flashed in front of you, your kids flashed in front of you, and you're just immediately I drew down. I was like, drop the gun, and he didn't. He was right there, and I remember pulling the trigger, I think 2 to 3 times, and he started running. And as he was running, I had my cell phone, and I dialed, and I still remember putting my code in, and just like this, I had the gun, and I'm keeping an eye on this guy, and I put my code in, dialed 911, and I called dispatch right away. My radio was in the van. And the whole time, I'm like giving him commands, I'm yelling, screaming, I'm like, drop the gun! And as he's running, he gets about like right just a little past where the guardrail starts, and he does this number, and I see his whole body spin, and I saw like a flash, a silver flash, like a metallic flash, come at me, and in my head, I said, aim, aim, and I was like, aim, and I just picked that front sight right in the center mass, and I just pulled the trigger 3 times, and I saw him drop, and I saw something silver fall. And at which point I was still on the phone with dispatch, just felt like, get your radio. And I just held what I had right there. I couldn't really see where he dropped, what happened, if he moved or anything. And I'm like, I don't see him. I don't have a visual on him. And I started to walk backwards and everything, came back to the van, grabbed my radio, grabbed everything, called out on the radio.
That whole performance right there, that's Raja's version. The heroic cop caught off guard by a dangerous gunman. The laser sight pointed at his chest. The "let's do this" from Corey, like he was spoiling for a fight. Here's what Raja didn't know. Corey Jones was on the phone with roadside assistance the entire time. The call was still recording when Raja pulled up. Every word, every sound, every gunshot. And that recording tells a very different story. No "let's do this." No verbal confrontation. What you hear is Corey asking, "You good?" the way you'd ask someone who just jumped out of a van in the middle of the night. Then you hear Raja screaming. Then you hear gunfire. Then you hear Corey running for his life. Raja built his defense assuming there were no witnesses. The phone was listening the whole time.
And Sergeant Sprague was the first one, and I can't remember, it was one of the new Tauruses were responding, and they actually thought it happened in Doubletree. And I got on the radio, I was like, guys, I'm right here. And they quickly turned in right here. And it was Arlotta, Nico Arlotta. And Arlotta had his rifle slung up in Sprague. I think I'm like, guys, I lost sight of him right there.
Do me a favor.
Yes, sir.
This is for you. I want you to take a deep breath.
Nope.
Okay?
Because
I'm having trouble. You're a fast talker,
Yeah,
and you're explaining everything. I want to be able to understand and make sure everyone's good. But I want to also give you a break to try and get some oxygen in you.
Yes. I'm sorry. It's just the whole kids thing gets to me.
Absolutely. That's perfect. Did you have questions?
I do.
Yes.
Now, while you were going through this, at any time did that individual fire at you? Do you know if the gun went off?
I don't know. I was screaming at the top of my lungs. I was screaming, dropped, and the only thing I can think of was like I'm saying drop the gun. I announced myself as, what the fuck is this guy pointing a gun at me? It was just...
Okay.
I don't know if he fired around him. I don't remember.
Okay. At any point, did you have any contact with that individual? Any kind of personal contact?
No.
When you were walking up?
No, again, like he jumped up and he said, "Hey, I'm okay." And I said, and I came out and said, my exact words were like, and I made sure I was speaking loud. I was like, "Hey man, police, can I help you?" And immediately he does a step back and kind of like boom, and just draws the gun. It's basically, if you're standing right here, do you mind if I?
Absolutely. Where was?
Sure. Okay.
You said you got out of the van here. You had indicated
Immediately.
earlier you put your flashers on. You said something about putting your
No,
flashers on.
my game plan as I was coming from PGA was this. I thought it was a disabled vehicle, so I was going to pull in front of the van, in front of the SUV, and put my flashers on, walk out, and see what's going on, and call out the tag and call a tow truck if I needed to get the vehicle removed. I thought it was a broke down vehicle. There was nobody in it.
Okay. And is there a reason why you stopped here instead of pulling up?
Because the guy jumped out.
He jumped out
Exactly.
while you were in the car. He jumped out.
He jumped out, and I immediately jumped out too.
The sergeant has to tell him to breathe. Think about that. A 10-year law enforcement veteran is rambling so fast and so erratically that his own supervisor has to slow him down, like a parent calming a child after a nightmare. And look, I'm not saying adrenaline doesn't affect people. It does. But this isn't adrenaline. This is a man trying to get his story straight before anyone checks it. Watch how the other officers handle him. They're gentle. They're deferential. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Nobody's treating this like a potential crime scene where the shooter might be the suspect. They're treating it like a tragedy that happened to one of their own. This is what institutional protection looks like in real time. The questions are soft. The assumptions favor Raja. And Corey Jones is already being framed as the threat before anyone's reviewed a single piece of evidence.
You were dressed exactly like this?
Exactly.
Nothing more, nothing less?
Exactly like this, and I had my holster, which was covered.
Was was covered?
It was covered, wasn't
When
it?
you have your gun in your waistband, is it
No
obvious
ball.
that you're carrying a gun? There's no big hole?
I have a big stomach, so it kind of overhangs over the holster.
Were you wearing that same hat?
Exactly, just like this.
Okay. And you said you started firing. Was that around this area?
I believe I'm trying to think. It's like I remember he came out and said, "Drop, drop."
Yeah, but hold on.
I'm sorry. I'm thinking. I know when he had the gun pointed at me around the car and everything, I fired. I know that.
Do you remember exactly where he was at when he? And let me go back. You said that you got out, you jumped out, and you came around here. When did the gun come into play, and where did it come from?
See, he jumped out immediately. He said, "I'm okay, man." He said, "I'm okay, I'm okay." And I said, "Hey, man, police, can I help? Can I help you?" And second, I said, I remember.
Don't touch
Oh,
it.
okay,
Yeah, don't
exactly.
touch.
I'm not touching
Go
anything.
here,
No.
just don't touch.
I remember clearly seeing this. The gun was right here. I remember seeing it above the door level, and it was in this area right here, pointing at directly at me. And I remember seeing it was a silver gun. I could clearly see the hole of the muzzle, and I could see that Laser Max laser in the guide rod flickering. It was like flickers, red, on and off, on and off.
Okay. So he was in this area.
Yeah,
right
he was
here.
in this vicinity, somewhere
Right on.
in this vicinity.
Why don't you, do you recall where you were standing? I know you had some difficulty. Do you know approximately where?
Somewhere in this vicinity somewhere. I don't recall exactly
Okay,
where.
why don't you do this somewhere between where and where?
Oh, let's see. So like, if I had to say something, I would probably say about like in this region right here. This would
Well,
be
I don't
this.
want you to have to say anything. That's why I asked you
Exactly.
approximate. So if you're safe saying where your attorney is standing and somewhere between there and somewhere, you just let me know.
It's somewhere in this area right here.
Put this at the western boundary of any possibility of where you were standing.
Okay, I'm gonna put it about here. About here. Let's see.
And put this at the eastern. And take your time and arrange them how you want.
Okay. So I don't know what that for. I'll probably say about here.
Okay, so somewhere between number 1 and number 2.
Yes.
Safe to say this is where you.
Yes, sir.
And that's when you initially came into engagement.
Well, like verbal engagement or
Well,
actually
you had spoke to him. When did you specifically see the threat?
right around this area? Because as it was happening, I still remember I was in this area and I said, "Hey, man, police, how can I help you?" And I said that clearly. And when I said that, and he immediately just jumped, and I remember this action right here, the handgun on me.
Look at what he's doing with his hands, the gestures, the staging. He's not recounting a trauma, he's workshopping a defense. And here's what makes this so unbearable. Nouman Raja became the first Florida police officer convicted of an on-duty shooting in 30 years. 3 decades of officers walking free. 3 decades of benefit of the doubt. And it took an audio recording that Corey Jones didn't even know he was making to finally break that streak. Corey was a housing inspector, a church drummer, a man who spent his weekends making music and his weekdays helping people. Raja spent his nights prowling neighborhoods in street clothes looking for suspects. One of them is serving 25 years. The other never got to see 32. That's the math. That's what accountability looks like when it finally arrives, too late for the person who needed it most.
And then he started running in this direction right here, just as you could.
Which side of the guardrail?
On the western side of the guardrail.
So he's in the
Onto
grass?
On the grass, yes.
Okay.
He started running on the grass, and if I'm thinking, and this is where I grabbed my phone and I started running after him with my gun still pointing in his direction, screaming, and I was on 911, I was yelling, I was like, "Drop the gun, drop the gun, drop the gun." and I was screaming at the top of my lungs.
What was he doing at that point?
He was running, and right when he got about, I think it was, because this is where I started to walk. I remember I was around that area by that pole when I decided to walk back to get my radio again, because this guy was like, go get your radio, Raj, go get your radio. And
just be careful right here.
I'm sorry. And I remember over here is where I was, and he must have been, do you see this plant right here? This big bush?
Clump?
Yeah, the big clump. Just where the ditch is right there in front of it, kind of like he was in that area, and that's when he did the spin. And I was yelling, I was like, drop the gun, drop the gun. And I saw him go like this. And I remember saying to myself, aim. I still remember, and I was like, aim! And I put that front sight right in the center mass, and I squeezed, I believe 2 rounds.
Okay.
And I saw him drop at which point, and when he dropped and everything, and I started going up, and I couldn't see him. And I was like, I lost sight of him. And they're like, go get your radio, go get your radio. And I started to go, and I was like, just pedaling back and everything. And the guys came, and I was like, look, I lost sight of him right there. I don't know where he went to. And I think one of the officers was up north. He's like, I think I see something up there, and this and that. So, and then Sergeant Sprague or Sergeant Anderson, one of the sergeants, was like, Raj, come show me exactly where's the last point you saw him. So I started walking up the guardrail. As I started walking up, we saw him right there.
Okay. What happened after that?
Once we saw him and everything, he was laying face down, and both his hands were tucked underneath him. So Sergeant Anderson came to my left. He brought a shield. He was shield guy. I was shield covered behind him. And Sergeant Sprague came to the north side of us from almost at the tree, and he had a rifle out. And we said, okay, we need to approach it to make sure that, he's still not on what's going on and everything. So we slowly approached him and everything like that. But before that, when they came, I ran to my van. I immediately put on my vest, and I immediately clipped on my thigh holster, my duty gun. So once we started to approach him and everything like that, he still wasn't moving. I think we gave him a couple of verbal commands, didn't respond. And Sergeant Sprague said, Raj, go ahead, go hands on with him. I holstered immediately, and they said they've got cover. I grabbed one arm, pulled it out, grabbed the other arm, pulled it out, and we said, and Sergeant Anderson or Sprague said, flip him, make sure he's not laying on top of the gun. And we just pulled him back, flipped him back, saw there was no gun visible and everything. And Sergeant Sprague said, okay, call fire rescue, all right, let's clear. And I came back here, and there was a rescue truck here, and I was covered in his blood, and I was like, can you just get this off me? And they took like hydrogen peroxide and just started pouring it all over me. They started washing me.
All over you?
Yeah. On my hands and
He squeezed. That's the word he uses. Not I fired or I had to shoot. He squeezed. Like it was target practice, like he was proud of the mechanics. And then he asks the paramedics to wash Corey's blood off his hands. Not a word about the man dying in the grass, just get this off me. Here's what that walkthrough doesn't show you. Raja had 10 seconds. 10 seconds from the moment he jumped out of that van to the moment he started shooting. Corey Jones spent those 10 seconds trying to figure out who this screaming stranger was. Raja spent them deciding Corey was already guilty. The department trained him to observe, to wait, to let uniformed officers handle contact. He ignored every single piece of it. And now he's narrating it like a movie he directed.
Down right now!
911.
Hey, this is Gardens Alpha 1. I just got one down. I just shot one person. I'm at that off-ramp right behind Doubletree. Black male.
You're behind the Doubletree?
I'm on the off-ramp, 95 southbound off-ramp, off the Doubletree. I am not covered in anything right now. And, give me some units. I got one down. I got one man down. Have fire rescue stand by.
Roger, you all right?
Yeah, man, I'm good. Drop the gun!
On the off-ramp, right?
On the off-ramp. Get me some units. I've lost contact with him. I don't know where he is.
All right, you got it, buddy. Where's your radio? Where's your radio, Raj?
My radio's in the van right now. I don't have it with me. That's why I'm on the phone.
All right, stay on the phone, buddy. What's the guy look like?
Black male wearing all black dress, had a silver handgun in his right hand.
Listen to where his head is at. I'm not covered in anything right now. That's what he tells dispatch. Not send help or he needs medical. His first instinct is to clarify that he doesn't have blood on him, that he's clean. And here's the part that should make your stomach turn. Raja had been on the force since 2006, nearly a decade of experience. He knew exactly how these calls get recorded. He knew exactly how the narrative needed to sound. "Drop the gun!" shouted into the phone after the shooting was already over. For the recording, for the transcript. His radio was in the van. His badge was in the van. His tactical vest with "police" written on it, in the van. Everything that could have prevented this confrontation was sitting in that vehicle while he stood over a dying man rehearsing his defense.
Can I clarify a couple things?
Go ahead.
The shirt you have on.
Yes, sir.
Is it the shirt you had on?
It's exactly just like this.
It's on inside out.
Inside out, because it's a shirt with the American flag on it.
Okay.
And the night before, I had a green shirt like this with an American flag, and all the officers drove by. Like, that gives you away as a cop. You got a flag on your shoulder. I was like, all right, I got to flip it inside out. So I flipped it.
Let's talk about conditions. Right now, I can see you. There's no street lights on. The sun has risen. You can see. And tell me about the conditions at 3:15.
Up front, when I was right there with him, I could see him crystal clear. But when he started to run away from me, all I could see was a silhouette, and I could see his face. I could see this, and I could see his like body movements and stuff. Like he was wearing a black shirt, but you could he wasn't really that dark black skin. Like he was like just maybe a couple of shades darker than me. So you could make out this is where his shirt stopped, this is where his arm stopped, and I could see him turn. And I could have sworn I saw that that silver thing. Like when he turned, I saw something silver in his hand turn, and that's when I was like, aim, and squeezed off a few rounds. And the whole time I'm on the phone with dispatch.
You said he pointed, he pulled the gun at you at it
over there,
right outside of
right
the
up, yeah,
or in
that vicinity, yeah.
And you described it as what?
I saw a silver muzzle. I could clearly see the bore size hole, and underneath it, where the guide rod goes with the handguns and everything like that, he had a laser max laser which blinks. And I'm speaking this from experience because I'm a firearms instructor, and I teach civilian, I teach at the police academy and everything, and I can clearly identify a firearm when I see one, specifically when it's pointed in my direction.
And you indicated, you testified that you were pretty quick on the draw.
Yes.
You said you drew it out quick. Are you pretty quick with?
I practice like I practice all the time.
And he pointed his gun at you at there?
Out there. Second, he pointed, first, when I said, "Hey man, police, can I help you?" And that's when he jumped back, pointed the gun at me and everything.
Okay, why didn't you shoot him there?
I thought I shot him there. I thought I pulled the trigger. I thought I shot him. I thought I shot at him.
When you first pulled out your gun?
Yeah. When I first pulled out the gun, I gave him like, drop the gun. And when he didn't, I think I believe I shot him there.
Okay. Okay. How many rounds do you think you fired in total?
5.
Okay.
Maybe 6. 5.
What kind of gun is it? What kind
it's
of weapon?
A Glock 27 40 caliber.
The mini Glock?
The mini Glock, yeah, the baby Glocks, yeah.
Did you, when he pointed the gun at you and you pulled your gun and you thought you fired, could you at any point, either there or down there, see if muzzle flash, you're familiar with muzzle flash?
Yes, absolutely.
Being a firearms instructor?
Yes,
Did you ever see that come out of his gun?
I didn't even see my own.
A firearms instructor. He wants us to know he's a firearms instructor. He teaches at the police academy. He can clearly identify a firearm when he sees one. And yet, he describes Corey Jones's gun as silver with a laser. Corey's gun was black, no laser. Raja describes seeing the bore-size hole and the guide rod in pitch darkness from distance while a man is allegedly running away from him. That's not marksmanship expertise. That's fabrication dressed up in technical jargon. And then the confession buried in the bravado. I thought I shot him. I thought I pulled the trigger. He doesn't know if he fired. He doesn't know how many rounds. 5? 6? This is the expert. This is the instructor. The man who practices like there's no tomorrow can't tell the jury whether he actually discharged his weapon at the first confrontation. His own story doesn't survive contact with his own testimony.
I remember it was just the motion of pulling that trigger. I didn't even know if I couldn't even hear my own bang. I think I was just so like, drop the gun, drop the gun. I don't think I even heard my own gun go off.
Would you describe your demeanor, I shouldn't say demeanor, I'm lacking a term here. As police officers, we often patrol with kind of a heightened sense of alertness. If this,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I was.
Do you think that your level? How would you describe your level of alertness when you first saw this car, and then before he pulled the firearm out?
First of all, I didn't even know he was inside the car, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. I'm kicking myself. You know, hindsight's 20/20, and I preach this at the academy. Always, you know, when you see an abandoned vehicle, when you see something like that, always treat it like there's somebody inside, because you never know. And I go and do the cynical sin, like if I knew there was a guy inside, I wouldn't do something stupid like this by pulling in front of the car like that. Because I drove by, oh, there's nobody, and I made the U-turn, and I'm watching, there's nobody inside the car. I'm like, oh man, they probably ran out of gas, walked the corner gas station or something like that. So let me just pull in front of it. I'll put my flashers on and everything. Hey, call out the tag, call out the, you know, like it's a broke down vehicle and everything, see if it needs to be towed or what.
So the only reason you got out there
was because he jumped out.
Because he jumped
out.
Okay.
He caught me off guard, and it's, again, like, I preached that stuff, and I went ahead.
Officer Raja, at one point you said that when he got out, you said, "Hey man, police.
Yes.
Can I help you?" At what point did he say what he said something? Correct?
He said right off the second he got out the car, I jumped out immediately. He said, "I'm good, man, I'm good."
Even before or after you said police?
Even before. That was the first words. He said, "Hey man, I'm good, I'm good." And I responded with, "Hey man, police, can I help you?"
Did he say anything after that?
No, that was like the clip. It was like, wait a minute. A normal person would be like, you know, if a normal human being was broken down and I identified myself as a police officer, like wanting to help them, they'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm waiting for someone to come bring the gas, or I called a tow truck already, or whatever the case might be. And he immediately just jumped back and gun come at me. And at that point, it's like, he knows I'm a cop. I identified myself. This guy's trying to kill me. And I didn't want to die.
Did you have anything out that would identify yourself physically as a police officer?
I didn't even get a chance to even grab my wallet out, because the funny thing is, earlier in the night, I was in the aisles when I was doing my patrol in aisles. As you enter the aisles, you make the first right, and there was a gentleman walking his dog, and he immediately saw me, and because I was blacked out in a van driving around, and I immediately grabbed my wallet and I went like this. I was like, "Sorry, I'm a police officer. It's okay. We're here doing surveillance and everything." So I knew to identify myself right off the bat, but it happened so quick. He drew that gun so quick on me.
Okay.
You have the holster for your gun with you?
Yeah, no, they have it.
What is the attachment you have on your belt there?
This is for my leg holster.
Okay.
Did
you have that tactical belt on at the time?
Yes, this is the same exact belt I had on.
Okay.
This right here, I had it in the waistband holster. And the whole thing with the drop leg holster was, you know, if I do need to go out, something like that, put the vest on, put the holster on, and then go.
Okay. Let's talk about two other things.
Yes, sir.
When you said you swore you shot up there when he first pulled the gun at you, did you see if it had an impact on him?
I couldn't tell.
Did you notice?
Were you watching him at the time?
My aim was, I was watching that gun.
Did he fall down?
No.
Did he stumble? Did he say ouch or shot me or anything?
Did he say anything at that point?
Nothing. Nothing was said. Nothing was, and he was just pointing the gun right.
Okay. No body reaction to indicate something may have occurred?
No, nothing. Just flight.
I preach this at the academy. He actually says that. He teaches officers to treat every broken down vehicle like someone might be inside. And then he admits he didn't do it. He saw Corey's car and assumed it was empty, made a U-turn, pulled directly in front of it, blocked it in. And now he's sitting here telling investigators he violated his own teaching because he got complacent. But here's what makes this worse. Raja isn't just a cop who made a mistake. He's the guy who trains other cops not to make this mistake. He's the standard, and he failed his own standard. Then he shot a man who was doing exactly what any reasonable person would do when an unidentified stranger jumps out of a van at 3 in the morning. Corey said, "I'm good, man. That's not aggression, that's a boundary." And Raja heard a boundary and decided it was a death sentence.
Which hand was he holding the gun in?
Right.
Okay.
And again, do you remember where it came from?
He was like, again, like my view was blocked by that door a
Okay.
lot, so I couldn't tell if he had it in his waist, if he had it in the door, if he had it on his seat. I don't know.
Okay.
I remember seeing that thing coming right at me.
When he ran, was he full sprint back?
I saw him running.
Running fast?
Not fast. It wasn't fast because I still have, like, if he was I guess he was, you could say if he was in a full sprint trying to run away, he would probably made it a lot further.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna ask you to do one thing after.
Yes, sir.
I ask you one more question. The blood, you said you got blood all over.
Yes.
How'd you do that?
When we went, once we found his body and everything, and it was only me, Sergeant Sprague, and Sergeant Anderson, and when we saw his body, we flashed the light on him. We were up here at this guardrail, right kind of like where this emergency truck is sitting at. And we looked down, and we're like, oh, there he is. His hands were tucked underneath him.
Right.
We couldn't even see his hands. So one of the sergeants said, we need to go make sure that he's that he's not alive still. He's not holding on to the weapon and everything like that. And Sergeant Anderson had the shield out. I was behind him in shield cover like this. And Sergeant Sprague was on further from me with a rifle out. And we slowly approached the body. I think we gave some royal guys, show me your hands, show me your hands. And nothing happened, didn't move, didn't even flinch. And Sergeant Sprague said, Raj, we got cover, holster up. We got to pull his hands out. And so holstered, pulled his hand out, pulled the other hand out. And then I'm not sure if it was Sergeant Sprague or Sergeant Anderson. They said, let's flip him just to make sure that he's not laying on top of the gun. So I grabbed his arm and I flipped him. There was no gun, nothing. Seeing Sergeant Sprague, like, okay, he's clear. Let's call fire rescue up. And I walked about like, I'm gonna go wash myself. I'm covered in blood.
And where did you do that at?
There was a fire truck and an ambulance right behind it with the rescue. And I walked back there. I was like, I need to wash this off me. And the firefighter, she grabbed a bottle of hydrogen peroxide, popped it, and just started dumping it all over me. And I was just washing myself.
Now to go back when the gentleman was rolled over, did anybody check him to see if he had any kind of weapons?
No.
Did you see anything in the ground around him?
We just kind of like did this and everything. And Sergeant Anderson like, we need to get out of this. We shouldn't contaminate this crime scene anymore.
And didn't see anything out of the ordinary?
Immediate area, no.
Okay.
Was that truck here when this happened?
No, this truck was like way towards the end. They just needed more lights, so they called it in.
Just making sure. And did you have anything to do with recovering any piece of evidence around here?
No.
Whether it be shell casings or guns or anything like that?
Second that happened, I washed my hands, Sergeant Anderson was like, Raj, you need to be with me. And he took me, do you see where those officers, where those guys are standing right there by that car?
Yes.
Right there, and I was there for the rest of till our command bus.
Never entered the crime scene again until you did this reenactment?
No, yeah.
Okay.
Did you get into a car or were you still outside?
No, I was outside the car the whole time till our command bus came, and I got into our command bus, and then your command bus came and I switched over to yours.
Okay.
What's the first thing he did when you yelled police at him?
Second, I said, hey man, police. He immediately just stepped back, and I remember clearly seeing that gun over that door pointing right at us. The night before, I went home and my wife saw me playing. She's like, what are you doing? I was doing surveillance last night. And the first words out of her mouth was, where's your vest? I was like, honey, it's inside the van. It's next to me. If I need it, I can throw it on and everything. And all I could think was, kids, man.
His wife asked him where his vest was. The night before this happened, his wife saw him come home, and her first question was, where's your vest? And he told her it was in the van, next to him. If he needed it, he could throw it on. That's not hindsight. That's foreshadowing from his own household. The person who knows him best already knew he was being reckless before Corey Jones ever crossed his path. And then there's the body. They flip Corey over to check for a weapon. Nothing. No gun underneath him. No gun in his hands. They search the immediate area. Nothing out of the ordinary. The firearm Raja claimed was pointed directly at him. They couldn't even find it right away. Because Corey wasn't holding it when he died. He was running away from a man who never identified himself until it was far too late. The jury saw through every single one of these contradictions, and in 2019, they made history. First Florida officer convicted of an on-duty shooting in 30 years.
Now, when he got out of the car, how did he get out of that car? Did it look like he had just opened up the door and stepped out?
I saw him
what
pop
was that?
out fast,
Okay.
I couldn't tell if he stepped his left foot, right foot, because my van's pretty high, van was blocked. I just saw him pop out right there, like, oh, and it just caught me off guard. I was like,
okay.
That red laser, you said that, did it flash or was it
it was
steady light?
flickering.
It was flickering?
Yes, sir.
You said you know about guns.
Yes, sir. Laser Max is the only company that makes a laser that goes in the guide rod of the gun, and they're not a steady laser. They're designed to flicker like that to give you like, hey, this is where I'm at.
And did you see? Were you there when if there was a gun recovered? Were you there? Did you see it afterwards?
I haven't seen the gun. I haven't seen anything. Again, like, you know, after we got the body and everything, after I washed my hands, they immediately took me over there, and I've been there the whole time.
Now, you said you saw the laser. Did you see the end point of that laser at any point?
Like where was? No,
yeah.
No idea.
Okay. 2 more things.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when you discharged your weapon? You said you believed it was down there. Did you discharge it anywhere?
Yes, I discharged it, and this is what I'm saying. It's like when he was running, and I was going after, I was yelling, I was like, drop the gun, drop the gun, and I'm yelling at this guy, drop the gun at the top of my lungs, and I see him do one of these numbers come back, and all I remember saying to myself in my head was like, aim, and I even yelled, I was like, aim, and I put that front sight right into the black silhouette, and I squeezed again.
Do me a favor, as best you can, the same thing. Approximate where you were.
Washed his hands. Did you catch that? After the shooting, he washed his hands before investigators could process them for gunshot residue. That's not a grief response. That's evidence management. Standard forensic protocol after an officer-involved shooting requires preserving everything. Your hands, your clothing, your weapon. You don't touch anything until crime scene techs clear you. Rajan knew this. He taught recruits about evidence integrity. And yet, somehow, his first instinct was to wash up before anyone could document what was on him. Then there's the laser. He describes this flickering red laser with absolute certainty. Laser Max guide rod system. Very specific, very confident. One problem, Corey's gun didn't have a laser. It was a black Taurus with no attachments. Raja invented a detail that sounded technical enough to justify his fear and hoped nobody would check. They checked.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
That good. 2 words from Corey Jones. The last real exchange before everything went wrong. And here's what those words actually meant. A man sitting on the side of a highway at 3 in the morning sees headlights pull up and thinks maybe it's help. Maybe it's the tow truck. Maybe it's just someone checking in. That good. It's the most human response imaginable. It's also the response of someone who has no idea he's about to die. Nouman Raja is serving 25 years right now, first Florida officer convicted of an on-duty shooting in 3 decades. But Corey Jones was a housing inspector, a church drummer, a man who spent his weekends helping people. He should have turned 32. He should have played 1,000 more gigs. Instead, his legacy became a legal precedent. That's the trade we made. 1 life for 1 conviction. The math will never balance.
And do you have this, like, in the area?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, which one is this? Because you had testified earlier that you shot twice.
Yes.
This is second.
This is the second.
The first?
The second series.
Okay.
First series, second series.
Very good.
I'm remember somewhere. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oops. Okay, anyway.
Probably have to say somewhere around. Almost here.
Yeah, watch
it was somewhere in this. Because I remember I didn't hug the guardrail. I remember I was coming wide. And I remember yelling, aim.
So it was in this general area?
General area.
Okay.
At which point was he pointing the gun at you? Running backwards and it turned.
He was running. He was running from me, and he did one of these numbers.
Where?
Where was he at that point?
Yeah. Can we?
Yeah, absolutely. Go.
I would probably say somewhere.
Oh, hold on 1 second.
In this general vicinity. You want me to?
I don't want you getting wet. It looks like it's
I'm already.
Listen, don't go if it's a canal.
I'll toss him.
Okay.
You want me to toss him?
Yeah.
All right.
And again, it's just approximate.
This is approximate. Right. I would say probably from about here to about this area.
Okay. Right. So right in that area.
Right
That's
in
where
that
he
area.
was when he.
That's when he was. He turned around and he just went like this, and I was like, and I remember yelling, "Aim!" And just.
When he spun, you saw the barrel again.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw him.
Okay.
I saw this. No, but I saw the biggest thing is this. Here's the thing. Again, from like training and experience and being around firearms and teaching firearms and everything like that, here's the thing. If somebody's running, if they're looking back, versus when they see a whole body spin and you see that fist come up like this, he's trying to kill me.
Did you see one at that point?
Yes, okay. I saw something and then he dropped, and that's when I said I saw something silver fall.
Okay.
The last thing I'm going to have you to do, it sounds silly, let's go back to
sir.
the car.
Mm-hmm.
Come here.
I'm going to keep up.
Trying.
The last thing I'm going to have you do is, as best you can, physically and verbally, reenact the moment without getting in your van. You can start at the driver's door.
Okay.
Reenact everything you did. Simulate drawing your gun, because I'll have it.
Mm-hmm.
As best you can, reenact it as if it was just happening now. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And,
Without getting my vehicle.
And when I say reenact it, I want the volume of your voice to be the same. I want your
do it 100%.
Your speed in your walk or your run to be the same, and progress all the way through.
All the way through. Okay.
Yep.
Now they want him to reenact it. Walk through the whole thing again with your voice at the same volume and your movements at the same speed. And watch how cooperative he is, how eager. Most people who just killed someone don't want to relive it. They don't volunteer for the director's commentary. But Raja, he's practically workshopping his testimony. Here's what the investigators don't say out loud, but absolutely know. This man has been through use of force reviews before. He knows the playbook. He knows a walkthrough locks in the narrative before anyone can poke holes in it. The rain starts falling and someone offers to throw him evidence markers so he doesn't get wet. Meanwhile, Corey Jones is in a morgue. His body was left on that same stretch of road for hours while Raja got to explain himself in real time. That's the system working exactly as designed. For one of them.
Completely go around, and he says, "Hey man," he jumps out, he's like, "Hey man, I'm okay." I'm like, "Hey man, cops, hey man, police, can I help you?" And he immediately, "Hey man, police, can I help you?" And he draws the gun on me and says, drop the gun, and bang, 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 and he starts running, and I start chasing him. And I'm calling 911. "Hey, this is Guardian's Alpha, this is Raja, I just shot a guy, the guy had a gun," and I'm describing the guy. And as he's going right there, he stops and he turns around, looks at me, and I'm like, "Aim!" And I bang, 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 and I fire about 2 or maybe 3 rounds over here, and I see him drop, and I come up a little bit more, and I'm still on the phone. I slow down, and then I couldn't see him anymore, and I was like, I've lost sight of him. I don't know where he is. And they're like, go back at your radio. And I just started walking backwards, ran back, and got my radio.
Bang, bang, bang. That's how he describes it. Not, "I discharged my weapon," or "I fired in self-defense." Bang, bang, bang. Like it's a story he's telling at a bar. And here's the thing, Corey Jones had a legal firearm, licensed, registered. Florida is a stand-your-ground state. A stranger in street clothes jumps out of an unmarked van at 3 in the morning screaming at you? You're legally entitled to defend yourself. But Raja never gave him that chance. He claims Corey drew first. The audio says otherwise. What the recording captured was Corey saying, "I'm good," before Raja even identified himself as police. And when did that identification come? After the first shots, after Corey was already running for his life. Raja is standing there in the rain telling investigators he announced himself clearly. The tape has him screaming incoherently. His own voice betrays him.
Is there any buildings, landmarks, anything like that that I could use to pinpoint your address?
Huh? I'm good. I'm good. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. There's gunshots.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Those words again. But this time, the inspector is pressing him on specifics, and Raja can't keep his story straight. He's been adjusting his narrative since minute one. First, Corey was aggressive. Then, Corey was armed and advancing. Then, there was a laser. Now, he can't even pin down basic details about what was said or where he was standing. This is what happens when your version of events was never real to begin with. You have to keep editing it. The problem for Raja is that Corey's phone was still connected to roadside assistance. Every word was captured, every gunshot time-stamped. His strategic adjustments didn't just fail to help his defense, they became the prosecution's roadmap. When the jury heard the audio alongside Raja's shifting accounts, they weren't weighing competing narratives. They were watching a man try to rewrite a recording that already existed.
Length of time that you just did that, roughly the same?
3 to 4 seconds, if that. Okay. Maybe 5.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take you over to Sergeant
Moleskar.
Moleskar?
Yes, sir.
I'm mixing up the names. Where you put your gun in the truck.
Yes,
the only reason I'm going to have you go over there is to identify that as
that is
gun.
okay. We'll do.
And then we're going to take it as evidence.
Okay.
And
got you.
That'll conclude everything. Any other time during this whole incident did you say police?
I don't know what to tell you.
What's that?
I don't know what to tell you. I remember screaming, drop the gun, drop the gun. I remember screaming that. I'm sure I probably said, police, drop the gun. It's just,
you don't remember?
I don't remember, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I'm happy about it.
Good. Thank you very much, sir.
3 to 4 seconds. That's how long it took Nouman Raja to end Corey Jones's life. And in that final exchange with investigators, he still can't say whether he identified himself as police. I don't know what to tell you. That's his answer. A trained officer, a firearms instructor, a man who spent years teaching others how to handle exactly these situations. And when asked the most basic question about the encounter that killed someone, he shrugs. Here's the thing about recordings. They don't forget. They don't adjust their story when the pressure mounts. They don't suddenly remember a laser that wasn't there or reframe a casual greeting as a threat. Corey Jones didn't know his phone was still connected to roadside assistance. He didn't set out to document his own murder. But that recording became the only witness who couldn't be intimidated or confused or worn down by procedure. It captured Raja's incoherent screaming. It captured Corey's calm voice asking if someone needed help. It captured the gunshots and the silence that followed. And when Raja walked investigators through his version of events, that recording was already sitting in evidence, waiting to contradict every word. This conviction mattered. First Florida officer found guilty of an on-duty shooting in 30 years. 3 decades of officers walking free, and it took an accidental recording to finally break that pattern. That should tell you everything about how the system was designed to function. Not to protect people like Corey Jones, to protect people like Nouman Raja. The accountability that arrived in that courtroom didn't come from internal review. It didn't come from fellow officers asking hard questions at the scene. It came from a phone that happened to stay connected. And that's the broader problem this case illuminates. We shouldn't need a victim to accidentally record their own death to achieve basic accountability. The protocols existed. Raja knew them. He articulated them on camera and then violated every single one. Observe and report. Don't engage in street clothes. Wait for uniformed officers. He taught these principles at the academy and abandoned them the moment he decided Corey Jones looked like a target instead of a person. 25 years. That's what the jury gave him. It's historically significant, and it's also completely inadequate to measure what was lost. Corey Jones was 31 years old, a housing inspector, a church drummer, a man whose family described him as someone who helped everyone he met. He should have turned 32. He should have played thousands more Sunday services. He should have grown old and unremarkable and ordinary in all the ways that make a life worth living. Instead, his legacy became a legal precedent, the first conviction in 30 years, as if that balances anything. The recording gave his family justice. It couldn't give them Corey back. If you want to see how another case turned on something the suspect said without realizing it, I covered a case where a wife accidentally revealed details only the killer would know. That one's worth your time. I'll see you there.